Welcome back to the Root to Rise Seeds for Spiritual Awakening podcast. I'm your host, Meg Kearney, and today my guest is Jaclyn Raspallo. Jaclyn is an online fitness coach for women, and she focuses on all things fitness, mindset, nutrition, and we had the best conversation, and Jaclyn had so much to share, both professionally and personally. And I personally took away so many things that I can use for my confidence, not just in fitness, but also in life. And it was a really, really fun conversation. So I hope you enjoy the episode. Thanks for tuning in. Hi, Jaclyn. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Megan. Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so happy to have you here. So I know that you're an online coach for women. So can you talk a little bit about what you do?
I am an online coach for women primarily, and my offer and who I help is for women who are ready to ditch the BS of quick fixes, restrictions, and feeling overwhelmed, to go from that to getting results, getting stronger, and feeling confident in the gym and in life. And within that program, it's 6 months long, and we build sustainable habits. And within that container, there's a lot of education and empowerment and just how to gain the tools and the lifestyle to continue and just ditch all that other crap.
That's great. It definitely can be so overwhelming to think about all of the components, especially I would say my biggest point of overwhelm is nutrition, because there's so much out there about what you should be eating, how often, how much. So I'm curious, how did you work through that overwhelm for yourself and get involved in this mind-body fitness space?
That's a big question. So when I look back at my own personal journey, I think the biggest thing for me to just explain that is the fact that it comes in layers, because like you said, there is so much information. And I think the biggest part is like, how do we sift through what is fact, what is not fact, like those myths that we see. And so it really had to do with a lot of like trial and error for my own health. So, flashback from like 10, 12 years ago, a lot of sinus infections and just like unhealthy habits of my own, and then just starting to really trial and error what works, what doesn't work. And I started to, when I was in yoga, started to follow Ayurveda medicine, which is Eastern medicine as opposed to Western. And it's about just that holistic approach of like the earth supplies us with what we need to nourish and to heal. And I like to say this sometimes because we know that our food is a lot of chemicals in some of the processed foods, and all of the processed foods, I should say. And I always say this, and it sounds ridiculous, but when I joke around, I'll say, like, if we put garbage in, we're going to have garbage come out. And so when we think of like whole foods, like, anything that is from Mother Nature is going to be less chemical induced, right? And so it's going to help us to feel light and free and energetic as opposed to feeling weighed down. And so just like with the course of my own healing with my thyroid condition, and then all of a sudden adult onset asthma for no given reason, after quitting smoking. So all of those things just helped me to just keep on this path of learning more about nutrition, obviously getting certified as a nutrition coach. But really just kind of like just one of those things where you kind of like have an elimination diet, and then you start putting things back in, and then you see how you feel. And it took a long time. And so with my clients, it's much like the same thing, is like, how can we start from point A to get you to point Z and learn from that, but also just keep layering in things so that way it's easy for you, your lifestyle, it's adaptable, right? And it can be challenging, I think, for myself to just be a big advocate to help my clients sift through all of that stuff. What's science? What's not? What's myth? What's fiction? And that part, I think, is one of the hardest parts.
Yeah, it definitely is a process. And I know that in today's world, a lot of people just want that quick fix. So sometimes, though, like you said, it's more of taking some things out, seeing how different things impact your body. You don't have to change your diet completely overnight. And I know that one of the biggest misconceptions or maybe limiting beliefs that I have, I don't know if other people have it too, but it's this idea that to eat whole foods, to eat healthier is so much more expensive. It's not accessible. So, what would you say to people who come to you with that mindset?
You are spot on with that, because one of the challenges that I found in my journey years ago was there wasn't a lot of this gluten-free, holistic, organic free food. And so it wasn't as popular back then. And when I found myself, it was like, okay, the healthier I eat, I found it interesting that the healthier I ate, the more expensive that was. However, I was in the doctor's office less. So
Mm,
if you think about insurance and out of pocket and medicines, it really offsets all of that. And in theory, at the end of the year, if you were to add up, like, let's say doctor bills from the previous year, and now this year you're having a really great health year and you've eaten all this healthy food and you've done all the things, and you go to the gym and you do all these things to take care of yourself. At the end of the day, you've spent much less money at the end of the day on that market list, as opposed to doctor pills, endless visits, appointments, time out of work, let's say, right? And let's say you don't get paid for sick time. So it really is, it's something that you see over time. But I think that you're right about, like, the quick fixes, and we want to see that right away. And
mm,
I think that's also really challenging as an online coach, or as a health, a wellness coach in general, is
mhm,
how do we get women to keep going when they don't see the results overnight that they really had hoped was going to happen.
mhm,
And so the longer you're in it, the more results you're going to see.
mhm.
Right?
And probably the more in tune you become with what food your body likes and how
Absolutely.
much you need. And like you said, it's that exponential over time, similar to saving for retirement, maybe. You don't see that money right away, but if you just keep putting a little bit away, eventually it compounds and you have all this
Right.
money. So you'll have all this health at the end of your life, which is great. So, with that, a big piece of exercising is having this balanced nutritional plate, if you will. So how do you typically start your clients? Is it nutrition first and then you work on the fitness aspect, or are you doing them hand in hand?
So right now, within my remodel of my facelifted body mind fit online coaching program, I have really honed in on what that client journey looks like. And so A, it's not cookie cutter. B, which is, just important, is that every single woman that comes through has a unique plan. So I have 4 pillars. My 4 pillars are, I'm going to show you right here. They are my coaching pillars. They are exercise program method, the flexible nutrition plan, right? Where we teach nutrition and, like, all the things, and like, how do we be flexible? How do we eat the foods we like, right? And have, being full protein, all this stuff. How do we create a balanced meal? 3 is this confidence builder blueprint. And then 4 is the stick to it method. And so when we talk about all those things, let's say you are coming in to me and you're going to be right on board, and you're my ideal client, and we do the assessment, we do the onboarding. What we take is from the assessments you did previously prior to onboarding, we look at that and we kind of come up with a client journey. So for instance, let's say exercise, you are an intermediate. Knowledge is intermediate on exercise. So, okay, right away, you know what you're doing at the gym, proper form. We do a movement assessment. We see where your imbalances are, compound movements and such. And then I create your plan, and boom, you have your plan, because you're intermediate. You know your way around the gym for the most part, and you just really kind of like need a structured plan because you don't know how to build one. You don't know what's going to work for you. So with that said, you're good to go. Like your first week, right? You're within your first 2 weeks, you're working out. The second part would be, okay, how in depth, what do you know about nutrition? What do you need to learn first? Have you ever tracked food? What are your struggles? So within those 4 pillars, we do the same thing for each one. And it sounds like a lengthy process, but it's really not. And I am able to sit back, develop a program that helps you to integrate this into your life, and where you're at today in order to progress further along within that 6 months. So hopefully that makes sense. So it's very unique, very customized to each individual. I am not at all for the masses. This is a 6-month high touch, high level coaching program, one-on-one. And it's 6 months. And I went from Body Mind Fit being 3 months, then to 4 months, then say, okay, well, what does somebody need to be successful? Right after around the 3-month mark, we're just kind of getting in the groove, right? So I'm like, okay, let's give them 4 months, because from my own personal journey, I know I would have needed that. It would have benefited from more education. So this is why I also provide education, because it is key, because the more we know about something, the better we can do, right? So yeah, those 4 pillars are interchangeable depending on where your starting point is. Yeah.
That makes sense. And it's nice to have that individualized program because, like we talked about, it's not a one size fits all.
Nope.
Everybody's in a different place. So, with that being said, I'm curious, for the people that come to you, are they typically looking to achieve similar goals, or would you say everybody's different? I'm just wondering if there's a common theme that you're seeing with your clients.
So the common theme is, first of all, we're all more alike than we are different. Okay. And the way that I am pinpointing and messaging and figuring out clients, and like, okay, we do the one-on-one, see if we're a right fit for each other, is, I would have to, if I don't select the right person, if we're not a right fit, then you're not going to benefit from what I'm doing and my coaching style and my philosophy, right? So for instance, the why I say I'm not for the masses is because if I am for the masses, then I'm not going to have women in my coaching program that are going to be an ideal fit. And then they're less likely to get results because they're not open to the coaching. So in regards to some of the women that are my ideal client that I have worked with, we all struggle with a lot of the same things. We want quick fixes. We have overwhelm and information that's put out on social media. And we want the body. We want to lose the fat. We want to look and feel a certain way. We want to have confidence, look in the mirror and be proud of that woman. And we want to know how to get that really fast. And so those are a lot of the underlying things. We've spent X amount of dollars on this. We've spent X amount of time on cardio machines. We have some food noise, right? Food noise and drama and food fear, right? So those things are pretty common within the container.
Yeah, I really resonate with the food fear that I think has come up a lot recently, of just everything's gonna kill us. We're getting cancer from everything, and while there is a lot of chemicals out there, there's also a lot of good food out there. So
There is.
it's
Coffee's good for you. Coffee's bad for you. Coffee's now good for you again.
Yes. And
So
there's that idea too that it depends on how you perceive the food. So if you think, they did a study, and if you think coffee is good for you, it's more likely to positively benefit you than if you think coffee's bad for you. So
yes,
I personally love coffee, and I'll never stop drinking coffee. It's so good.
yeah. And
But
so that's a good point, because what we think we believe, right? And so that's a big part of, having like the confidence builder blueprint in my coaching pillar really attends to our limiting beliefs and some of the things that we adapted from other coaches or family or parenting or teachers in our lives that are we believe to be true, and so we adapt that into our everyday living and our thought process. So it's about those limiting beliefs, what we believe, is what ultimately is going to be the truth for us, right?
Mm.
And so it's about uncovering that. And so like, yeah. So within those, it's like little micro lessons of limiting beliefs and just, what's true, what's not true. And how do we question this? Sift through that. What is true, what's not.
Mm.
Yeah.
You mentioned confidence, and I'm curious, what are some of the limiting beliefs that you see for women, specifically in the gym, that prevent them from feeling confident going in there?
Just, having a plan, having a structured plan, knowing what to do and how to do it. That is one of the biggest things
Mm-hmm.
that any woman could benefit from, right? Is having a coach that gives you a plan and gives you how to.
Mm-hmm.
Also works with you, like if you have questions on forms. So within my container, we also have form checks, right? Where you would send me a video of you doing the whatever specific exercise that you feel you're less than confident in. And then I give you tips based on that form. And
Mm.
so that's like another level of like, okay, now my client's being asked to step out of their comfort zone and now videotape themselves in a public setting.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the more we do those things, the less fearful we become, right? So, it's almost like I'm forcing them to step out of their comfort level because we can't stay there. We won't grow there.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you step out of your comfort level, right, the more you're going to get confident. And so that's going to help A, build confidence, but B, now you have a trained eye looking at you saying no or yes, like, hey, tweak this or you're good to go. And then you have way more confidence in your own abilities, right? And so that's going to help them. So I think those things are key. And for anybody that is going into the gym for their first time, I always tell them just go on the treadmill and just walk regular. People
Mm-hmm.
watch. Everybody's driving their own car, you know. And
Nobody's looking
it
at you.
sounds odd, but like, in theory, like we are, when you leave there, nobody's really gonna remember the girl who didn't know how to fix a machine. Maybe in that moment it feels that way, right? Because you don't know. But then the more you do it, the more you're gonna know. And the
Mm-hmm.
more confident you get. But
Mm-hmm.
having a plan, having somebody to be like there for you, like for instance, when you get a plan for me, you get all the online stuff. You get videos on how to do stuff, right? It's like having me in your back pocket. You got a question? It's right there,
Mm-hmm.
right? You want to know how to do something? The video is telling you how to do it.
Mm.
You want more about the specific exercise? Take a video. Step out of your comfort zone. Send me a video.
Mm-hmm.
I will critique you. Our group calls, which I'm presenting in this coaching container, the group calls are one time a month at the end of the month at a specific day. And it's all about how do we get confidence in the gym? What are techniques that we all can learn from? And so we all learn from each other. We talk mindset, we talk technique, we talk how to build upon what we're already doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so those things are really important for building confidence.
Yeah, and I imagine having that community too of people that are doing it and
Mm-hmm.
sharing practices that they're taking, or sharing maybe some struggles that are coming up.
Right.
I imagine that
Absolutely.
that'll be
And
really
nutrition,
helpful.
like, hey, like, okay, how do you get all your protein in? And what are some of your ways that you manage having kids and they're not eating what you're eating? And just being able to learn from one another. Because, like
Mm,
I said in the beginning, we're all more alike than we are different. And we all learn from each other. Right?
mm-hmm.
Sometimes
Yep.
we learn what not to do.
Yes. Yes, definitely. Yeah. We learn by someone else's flaw, maybe. We're like,
Yes, because we
okay.
learn from our mistakes. We learn from our mistakes and we learn from other people's mistakes,
So
right?
true.
And we learn
Yes.
from other people's, celebrations and triumphs, right? In life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's really important for building confidence. It's like just being able to have that plan, that structure, and then being within a community that you can flourish in, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious about that too, because sometimes hmm, I definitely struggle with confidence in the gym. I will not go alone. I'll only go with one specific friend who knows exactly what to do. And so I'm curious about that. How can we leverage community when going to the gym maybe with a buddy versus using it as a crutch and not feeling comfortable to go for ourselves?
So let me back up a little bit. Your question is, how would you not use a friend as a crutch to get into the gym?
Yeah.
Doesn't you just gotta rip off the Band-Aid, baby?
Going with a
Not the
plan.
answer you wanted.
Yeah.
But in truth, it's really about, yes, like, and it's the same that goes for a lot of people who hire in-person personal trainers, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I before pivoting to online, I was an in-person personal trainer. Before that, I myself hired multiple personal trainers before becoming one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's all fine and well. It's a great starting point. However, I found that when I was done with my sessions, whether they were 3 months or 2 months or 2 times a week for 3 months, whatever it was, I still had a plethora of questions unanswered on how to do this on my own,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because at that level, being a personal trainer, you are still relying on that personal trainer for your confidence because
Mm-hmm.
they are the professional. And you go to the gym, they'll fix the machine. I would fix the machine. I would get the machine ready. I'll tell them what to do. And now you're not thinking about it. And you're not in that moment thinking, oh, I better pay attention because I need to figure this out for later. But that's
Mm-hmm.
all great that you know how to do it. But now, do you know how to put together some pieces of exercises that you like doing and how to do that on your own, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it's the same thing that goes for friends. We're kind of like relying on them for support, which is fine. That's what we have friends for. That's what we do. But you can't, let's face it, in this time and that we're in, everybody's busy. We all have different schedules. You have a plan, let's say your plan, and you already go to the gym 3 days a week, and then they can't go with you that third time, and now you miss, right? And then you're left with feeling like a failure because you missed because you didn't want to go alone, and now you're not hitting your goals, and you're not going to get, you're not going to progress, right? You've missed your time, you're a failure, and then we go into this loop. And so it's really about, what can I do in this moment to self-regulate my emotions around fear into the gym? And is sitting down and doing nothing going to support me moving forward, support my goals? And if
Mm.
the answer is no, you gotta do something about it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That is scary. And it could be, okay, Megan goes to the gym 3 times a week. She misses that one day. Next week, the same thing happens. And she says, you know what? I'm not gonna let this happen again. I'm just gonna go on the treadmill by myself. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna go work out. I'm just going to go on the treadmill. So now you've taken one step to enter the gym on your own and feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
The next step for Megan is to go into the gym that next time that it happens, maybe use the treadmill a little less, and then go do some things. Go do what you know how to do, right? And it's okay if you did the same workout with your friend Bethany, whatever, whatever that name, Bethany. If you've done your workout with Bethany already yesterday and you go to the gym yourself and you do the same workout, you know why? Because you already know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're doing stuff that you already know and you're used to and you're comfortable, but you're doing it in an uncomfortable situation where you don't have somebody else next to you,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's going to help you to build confidence to do things on your own. Does that make sense?
Yes, this is making me want to go to the gym. I
Good.
love
Go
it.
find your friend Bethany.
I'm running the workout today, Bethany.
Yeah. Go find your friend Bethany.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just about, those, and it is hard. It's hard. I'm not gonna lie. I was there,
Mm.
right? I was there, but you have to figure out what is, what's going to support your goals long term, and how does that make you feel? And if it's making you stay in a loop of self-doubt and feeling of failure by sitting home and not doing anything, then you got to change what you're doing in order to change the thought process to say, now I've done this on my own, and now I can do hard things,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what it's all about. The more
Mm-hmm.
you have proof that you can do hard things, even if it's little steps, the more you're going to build your confidence. Because we
Mm-hmm.
think we have a little confidence bank, and we're going to wait for the confidence. I did too. And so it doesn't work that way, right? And it takes a long time for a lot of us to find out it doesn't work that way. It
Mm-hmm.
actually is an emotion and something that comes as a result of doing something hard that you feared.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense? Now
It
you have a little bit
does.
in your bank. Then you do it again, you get a little more in your bank, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like building a muscle.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
We're gonna talk about building muscles in a little bit, I
Yeah.
swear. But you mentioned before, uh, about you need to sit with your emotions before, maybe before you go to the gym alone. So, what would you recommend for someone who wants to go to the gym alone, is kind of experiencing that fear, that self-doubt? What would you recommend for them to do before to sit with those feelings and get to the point where they're actually getting to the gym? And would you also recommend afterwards sitting with the feeling of maybe being proud of yourself for going so that the
Absolutely.
confidence really integrates?
Absolutely. That is so key. It's just like congratulate yourself. So at the end it's like congratulate yourself, right? So back to your question of like sitting with the emotions, and like your question is what would you say to yourself? How to kind of like coach yourself into going? Is that what
Mm-hmm.
you're
Mm-hmm.
asking? I mean, really I think the biggest question is like, is this going to support my future self? And who I'm really striving, who I really want to see in the future. If the answer is no, you got to stand up. And if that
Mm-hmm.
means you just go outside, you get some fresh air, and then you happen to get in the car and you go into the gym, you go do the hard thing. Much like, me sitting here, like, I'm like, okay, just because I'm sitting here taking this video does not mean that I am super confident. I
Mm-hmm.
am still sitting here with a little bit of worry. Oh, okay, what if the video is not good enough? Right? Oh my God, I fixed my hair and now it's a mess, but I'm going to say something really important for somebody to hear me say. And then I'm going to do what? Not share it because I'm afraid of what my hair looks like,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so those are some feelings that even I have to sit with. And just
Mm-hmm.
because I've done the thing or you've done the thing, it doesn't always mean it's not there. It means that it's there, but now you have proof that you can do hard things, and that this is just a little bit of your self-doubt,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we all have it. With the imposter syndrome, we all have these things. Even the people you see who have a bazillion followers, they do it and they do it scared,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think it's better to do it messy than to try to get all the parts right.
Yep.
So in those moments, yes. And then just like congratulate yourself for sitting there with some icky feelings about it. That's even before you go to the gym and you leave. Just congratulate yourself for freaking stopping for a moment to self-regulate your emotions, because emotional regulation is super important, and congratulate yourself for just catching these fleeting thoughts, because sometimes we don't always hear them because
Mm-hmm.
they're so repeated that we don't even know we're doing them anymore, or speaking these things to our brains and our bodies. And so it's important to like, there it is again, the self-doubt. Nope, it's not gonna take the driver's seat. I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna get up, take a few deep breaths, and say, you know what, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
I can do hard things, and, just figure it out, you
Yep.
know? And then, yeah, definitely after the gym and after you do the hard thing, whatever that was, is to sit back and just kind of like relish in that feeling of like, wow, I fucking did that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, holy crap. And another big thing that I do for myself and for my clients is to just remind yourself of a hard time that you did, right?
Mm.
We all have moments that changed us, right? And of course that comes with experience, and some have it of these hardships later in life. Sometimes they're early in life, whatever. And so when you think about my journey in general, the passing of my parents, right? So having my parents, they didn't pass at the same time. It was years apart. But after the passing of my second parent, which was my mom, I thought that I would never come back from that,
Mm.
right? And so we have to sit in those moments that we feel fear,
Mm-hmm.
and also reflect on something scary that we did, right? That tried us, that we did do it. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to sit there and just remind yourself, what is one hard thing that I did? What is that moment in time that I thought I would never make it out of that I did because I'm sitting right here,
Mm-hmm.
right? And those are your proof that you can do those things that you're afraid to do,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
And much like, I've had, depression, right? I've had, obviously, with grief, a lot of different things came with that. Having postpartum depression, having a thyroid condition, I've had depression from that, right? And times where I went into heavy grieving time where I just didn't know who I was. And so when I have those moments of doubt, like right here, oh crap, look at my hair, I'm like, who cares? I did that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't eat for a week, but I'm here now,
Mm-hmm.
And so we have to find proof of the hard things we did in order to do the hard things moving forward. Does that
Mm-hmm.
make sense?
Yes. And to your point, the more you build these up in your memory bank, and
Mm-hmm.
I think the more that we practice in those moments of uncertainty or fear, the more we practice calling on these feelings of being proud, these past triumphs that we've had,
Mm-hmm.
the faster we're going to be able to, in the moment, recognize I'm in a fear loop, time to go and think about something hard that I did.
Mm-hmm.
And that will become more of the automatic response versus just sitting in that
Yes.
loop of fear. And
Yes.
it also, I think, will allow us to recognize in life more of the good things that we do. We're so critical of
Yeah.
ourselves every day, of every little thing. At least I am. And there's so many good things that we all do every day that we just take for granted, or even little small things like
Mm-hmm.
making your bed, brushing your teeth. Like,
Right.
you're doing that. That's a good thing for yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
I
And I
love this
think
idea.
I think to your point too is that when we're in those moments, it is really hard to be like, oh, let me remember what I did before. And
Mhm.
it's about retraining and reframing. So
Mhm.
if you have to, let's say, put a post-it note somewhere, right? I can do hard things. Maybe that's some sort of mantra that helps you remember you did the hard thing before.
Mhm.
So like when you're
Mhm.
in those moments, you have this post-it, I can do hard things, or whatever mantra comes to mind, right? I can do this, find proof, whatever comes to mind. But I think it is really challenging in those moments of
Mhm.
those fleeting thoughts to actually remind yourself to find proof.
Mhm.
But I think the more you do it, you hit the nail on the head. The more you do it, the more it becomes automatic.
Mhm.
Because I myself sometimes forget. I'm sitting
Mhm.
here, I've totally that story with my mom and all the other things. Sometimes I forget myself.
Mhm.
I forget myself. And it's a
Yep.
good reminder.
Yep. It's even a good reminder too. I did an episode a couple weeks ago about the stories that we tell ourselves and the stories that we tell other people too. And this reminds me of that because even when you're talking to somebody, if you're talking about something that you messed up versus something that you're proud of, you're going to feel completely different. And when you're talking about things you're proud of, you're going to feel better. So I think even doing it with ourselves, doing it with other people, being okay to be proud of ourselves outwardly as well as inwardly. And one other thing I'll say too is maybe if you find it hard to do it in the moment, having something similar to like a gratitude journal, but having a proud of yourself journal
Yeah.
and doing it
Me
every
too.
day can help too, to look back and
Yeah.
reflect on the day and say, look at all this stuff I did today that I'm proud of. And maybe that will make it, more forefront of your mind throughout the
Wait.
day as well.
So tell me, I was really excited to see like your first yoga class. So tell me, what are some things that helped you step into your first yoga class? Because I've been there. I'm a yoga teacher, and I know my first time. So what are
Mm-hmm.
some things that helped you?
So yes, I taught my first paid yoga class, and I had done a community class for my training about a year-ish ago.
Yeah.
And I remember I was so nervous for that. And it was just for my friends and family. It was, a fun class. And kind of what we talked about, I remember at the end of teaching that community class, I felt so good. I was high on life. I just loved it. It was so fun. And so when I was going to teach this paid class at a studio that I had never taught at before with people I didn't know, I thought about that feeling where I was so scared, but at the end of it, I was so happy that I did it. And what's interesting is when I taught my first one a few weeks back, I am so used to having this mental narrative of nitpicking every single thing that I did. And I wrote out a flow. I hadn't taught in so long, and I barely cued anything, and it was a mess. But what you said earlier is rather do something and have it be messy than have it be perfect, because it's never going to be perfect. And so at the end of the class, I had the same feeling. I was like, this is so fun. I had so much fun. I loved doing it. And every class I teach, I'm going to feel more confident. I'll cue better. I'll be able to sequence differently. So it was really fun. It was a great learning experience.
Self-reflection is a trip, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It really is. And I was able to ask for feedback for that without letting it mean something about me.
Absolutely,
Like I
yes.
genuinely wanted the feedback. And that probably goes to your point of having clients record videos of themselves. They want your feedback. Am I doing this right? Does this look good?
Right.
So
And it helps them to not, even if they have even if they have some sort of tweak that they need to, they need to fix, it's still about learning, but it's also about what are they doing with the feedback and what are some of the things they're telling themselves because of that feedback. And it all stems back, from, like self-worth and self-esteem, self-confidence. And so to have a good self-confidence, self-esteem and awareness, right? It stems from your first, which is self-worth. Self-worth is the foreground to have self-esteem, self-confidence, and all that stuff. And so it's really about limiting beliefs, what people have told you before, if you were bullied, if you were told this or that, and now you've adapted that to your believing that. So yeah, and it takes practice. I know, because not attachment. One of the yoga teachers, it was not attachment to results, and it's not about like, okay, it's more of not attachment to results, more of, so what you spoke to is that how to not take that as a personal blow to my own self, right? Because you're here and it doesn't matter if somebody says this below you or up here and you feel really high. You know you're here. You know your worth, right? You know yourself better than anybody. And so it's a practice. And I think self-reflection and being aware of that can be trippy. Trippy and cool, right?
definitely. Yeah, it is. It's trippy. It's like metacognition.
Yeah.
Way it's trippy. So okay, so kind of going back to the physical, like fitness aspect of this, because, and I want to talk about how yoga plays into this too, but first we'll just talk about fitness itself. So I see a lot about strength training and going to the gym and no days off, and people really pushing themselves. So, and I love that for them. I'm curious, how do you find the balance for yourself or when you're coaching other people of no days off, you can do this, push through, versus actually having awareness of, no, today I need to rest, or I am having pain here and I need to be okay with taking a day off. It's such a fine line because we can use this self-compassion as a way to get out of doing the hard thing, or sometimes we can go the complete opposite.
So funny. I used to do that. The universe is telling me to take a step back, right?
Yes.
I don't know how many times that I've heard that in my own brain. I have my nose is stuffy. Being told to rest.
Yeah. I didn't sleep well last night. Guess I'll skip that morning
Yes.
class.
Yep. So, and I like how you said, like, I love that for them, like, no days off, but, we have to take our rest days. So it has to be planned. Like our exercise needs to be planned. And, even for myself is finding a balance between all the many things that I do in my own personal life, a part-time job, 2 kids, animals, coaching business, yoga teacher, and finding what is going to work for my lifestyle. And so that's also what I'm helping my clients with. And like, I can't tell you the amount of times people say, I'm like, hey, we're on onboarding and I'm making the program. How many days a week? And of course I let them speak. I hold space for my clients. How many days a week do you want to work out? Do you feel like you can commit? Megan's going to commit to 5 days. And now I'm at the back seat because I'm at the back seat looking from the outside, right?
Mm.
And which is a much easier place to see. Sometimes we can't see our own self in our patterns and our lives. And so I'm like, hey, Megan, this is where I like that for you. However, based on these very many things that you are doing and the fact that you just said you feel overwhelmed and you're just completely drained, let's begin with 3 days. And
Mhm.
then, more often than not, 9 times out of 10, my client Megan will say, well, I'm really glad I only did 3 days. Right.
Mm.
And so it helps them to see like less is more, but obviously having a structured plan for your goals and your lifestyle is going to help you get to where you want to go progress wise, physique wise, over doing more and just being exhausted.
Mhm.
Right. And so I think that answers your question is like, less is more, but also having a plan that is structured for your lifestyle and your goals is very key to seeing progress, seeing results that we want
Mhm.
to see.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so weightlifting and strength training is, isolated work in the gym, having like a split body day, whatever, even if you're doing 2 days a week, what are your other methods of activity outside of just regular physical activity, walking to the car and back or to your job or to shopping or whatever. But I think that it's really key to like have a balance in your lifestyle.
Mhm.
What does your recovery look like? How are you sleeping? Right?
Yep.
What are these other areas in your life look like?
Mhm.
A lot goes into planning and structuring things for clients because it's that important to have a good balance, right? And it
Yep.
is. I think a lot of women think that we do more, we're going to get more results, and it's really quite the opposite.
Mm. It's really about that consistency. And I love what you said about starting small, and it's sort of this concept of under promise over deliver. But I remember when I was trying to get back into fitness, and I told myself I'm just going to go to one yoga class per week. That's it.
Mhm.
And it was so helpful because I went to the same class every Monday. Then eventually it was adding a Tuesday. Then I added a Sunday. And it just really helped to, again, develop that muscle of I can do this. I've showed up for this. I'll keep
Mhm.
showing up. So
I
I love
think,
that. And I think that,
I think like the biggest thing too is that I love it when a client is new and so we have a lot of like, I don't have enough time.
mm-hmm,
Okay. That is the biggest misconception ever.
mm-hmm,
And I absolutely adore and want to do, I mean, I literally like I just want to dance. And I'm so excited when a client says they can only do 2 days, half-hour sessions, which is fine. That is fine. I'm
mm-hmm,
going to repeat that. That is totally fine. If that is the only thing that you can commit to, you will for sure make progress and see results if you are consistent with 2 days a week at half hour and
mm-hmm,
you're consistent with nutrition and sleep and all the things that go with it. But I will tell you, when a woman says to me, and my client says to me, I don't have time, I can only do this, and I look at their lifestyle and the things that they could do without, because we all have things that are draining us. When they come to me after 3 or 4 weeks and they say, I want another day. Can I have another day? Absolutely, you can have another day. I've
Yes.
been waiting for 3, 4 weeks for you to say that. I've been waiting for 2 months until you said that to me. Because you know why? They see the benefits of going to the gym, lifting the weights, whether they're at home and they have their own home gym, whatever it is, but they are seeing results and they're feeling more confident, and they feel less stressed. They have better emotional regulation. They feel more empowered. And when they say to me, I want another day, I'm like, I have been waiting a month. I could not wait for you to say that, because it always happens, Megan.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the best celebration ever, because it's a milestone that she has overcome.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That actually she's looked at her lifestyle and she now knows, hey, I do have a little more time and I could do without Netflix or scrolling in the morning on social media. Hey, I don't really need to watch an hour of the news.
Yes.
Right? And so, it is a celebration.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And it's so much more powerful when people come to that on their own. So it's,
absolutely, that's my job. It's like
yeah.
when they come to, I can tell you, hey, you need this, 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 and this. If you don't believe it, you're not going to do it. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's why it's such a celebration, because this is something that they have identified and realized on their own,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Even though I'm sitting back and I'm like, oh, I can't wait because it's going to happen.
Yep.
It happens. It's
Yeah.
inevitable. It happens.
Yep. Because you know the benefits of it. So,
Yes. Yeah.
and sometimes you just have to start, and then you start and
Yeah.
it feels really good. And we want things in our lives that feel good. And
Right.
to your point, scrolling, Netflix, I've
Mhm.
never got out of a Netflix binge session and been like, wow, I can't wait to do that again.
Yes. And like the more that they do it, they feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And they want that endorphins. They want the high because they feel different every time
Mm-hmm.
they go to the gym, and how it applies in their lives, that they're like, I want more of this. Who
Mm-hmm.
the hell doesn't want more of that?
Yes. It feels
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And I know you're a yoga teacher too. So do you include any yoga in your coaching programs?
I do
And
not. I do
okay.
not. I don't include any yoga. I'm a huge advocate of just making sure that they are recovering and stretching, because it's really something that's really needed. It's overlooked. Stretching and recovery is very much overlooked in in the gym world.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But you can see, if you looked at, professional football players, basketball players, whatever, they will have a structured exercise plan that includes stretching and
Mm-hmm.
recovery,
Mm-hmm.
because our muscles need to remain happy and our full range of motion and mobility. And so outside of that, lots of repeated things that I say, okay, my knee hurts, or this is bothering me, this is bothering me. My first thing is, have you stretch? Do you stretch after you're done? And so more times than not, then I am including stretching, a couple of stretching things at the end. So I'll put it right in their program, because lots of times some people will say, hey, if you don't put it in there, I'm not going to do it. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's really just a matter of, like, you need to commit to yourself to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
I could put it in there, you're going to do it. What's going to happen after I'm not your coach? You're not going to do it anymore. So, our connective tissue is really, it's really at its best when we recover and stretch and take care of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then some people say, oh, well, I don't have the time to do that. Or now it's more. Now I have to do more. Well, do you want to be mobile and walk up and down the stairs, or do you want to have knee pain all the time?
Mm.
Like, yeah, you have to figure it out.
Yep. Pick one.
The biggest thing that I've incorporated for myself is I used to say the same thing, but like now I have like a day dedicated to, like maybe like a half hour. I foam roll and I stretch those areas, right? And I'll do that while I watch my Netflix show, right? I'm rolling around on the living room floor. And it's fine. Like I'm
Mhm.
not missing my show. I only
Mhm.
watch like an hour of TV a day.
Yep.
Or if my kids are watching TV and I want to be with them. I don't need to just sit on the couch to be with them and watch their show and be present. I can be on the floor, foam rolling and stretching.
Mhm.
That's really great because they're going to see me taking care of myself, right?
Mhm.
So that's a
Mhm.
bonus
Yep.
rather than me sitting there or scrolling on my phone and being with them in the same room, just not doing anything.
Right.
And so, and to the other flip side of that is that I find it also a really crazy analogy that we have to give energy to get energy. So the ones that are saying, hey, like, I don't have time, that's more to do, I'm so tired. That is also a lot of the time the people and the individuals who are not going to the gym, not incorporating resistance training, and are living a sedentary life, right?
Mhm.
Because we're drained. And I find it mind blowing, crazy, awesome, cool that you go to the gym and you now have you're literally like dying working out, but then all of a sudden you have all of this energy and you give energy to get energy.
Right.
And the more you do that, the more you're like, oh well, I can go do the stretching and watch TV. Of course you
Mhm.
can.
Mhm.
So in my world, a lot of the times I will advocate, hey, like if somebody's having physical pain or they have limited range of motion, I'm a huge advocate of have you tried yoga? However, it's not in my program.
Mhm.
But you will hear me say, did you foam roll? Did you stretch? Did you foam roll? Did you stretch?
Mhm.
So those are my parts. And then of course a bit of that mindfulness. So being certified mindfulness MBSR, it is really just about that being insightful, being aware, like being like self-aware of your patterns and behaviors and like repeated things that you say. And so that's also a level of yoga, right? And trauma, yoga for trauma. So those things help me and helping my clients, especially as I get to know them. So the more a client will tell me, the more it uncovers some of the reasons why they do X, Y, and Z, or say these things to themselves or behave this way. And of course, sometimes, I would recommend therapy because I can only, if it's out of my scope of practice and I know they've been through some sort of level of trauma that I'm not versed in, then it's time to get extra help. Right.
Mhm.
But yoga, by all means, it is a huge complement to strength training. And I did yoga first before strength training. And then when I did strength training and I went back to yoga class, holy crap, did I feel great.
Mhm.
And so, and especially like being at the gym, you're challenging yourself at the gym, right? You're stressing your body in a controlled environment. And that's also why stress is reduced when in people who work out, lift weights and in yoga, right?
Mhm.
We're in a controlled environment. Some of the time in the gym, we are in more of a fight or flight. So we're kind of like putting ourselves in a controlled situation of fight or flight. And
Mhm.
the offset of that is that now we feel calmer, more relaxed in situations in life that are stressful.
Wow, that was like a light bulb
Yes,
moment.
our heart rate, because and people who do yoga or strength training, our heart rate will be up
Mhm.
and our resting heart rate will be lower. And
Mm.
so it takes more to trigger huge emotional stress related response of fight or flight outside of the gym because our heart rates are already operating at a lower level. So it takes
Mhm.
a little more. So we're able to emotionally regulate a lot better. I
Interesting.
know,
And
isn't
and
that cool?
because yeah, because we're exposing ourselves to it
Yes, we're
more
doing it on
and
purpose in a controlled
yes.
situation. And that's why at home and in life, when you step away, you find yourself getting less triggered on things or less stressed on things that normally would make you feel stressed. Pretty
Mm,
cool stuff.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Wow, I love that. I
Yeah.
never thought of strength training like that. That's so cool.
Yeah, it is. And it's same thing with yoga. Same thing with yoga. And yoga and they both modalities of physical activity, the strength training and the yoga, they both help you to tune into that inner voice.
Mm,
I feel as though maybe perhaps yoga might be a little bit of a deeper level of that. It could be.
mhm,
Um it could be because you're also inducing with your breath work and yoga, you're also inducing a state of relaxation, which in turn helps you to calm down and you can hear more.
mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
As opposed to strength training where you're fighting for that last few reps.
Yep,
You're only really going to hear, I can't do this. No, you can't. I can't. Right.
yep.
And you're only going to hear some of those other things that you tell yourself. But in yoga, I feel as though it goes to a deeper level because you're inducing a relaxed state of being with our
Mm,
breath.
mhm,
Right. And yes, our heart rate can go up. We could do hot yoga, you could do all that stuff. But in essence, you're a little less intense in yoga, even if you are taking hot yoga
mhm.
and you can hear more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, this is mind-blowing to me because I do notice when I do strength training and yoga, to your point, I have a similar narrative, but the strength training narrative is very loud, very strong, and it's just one line that just keeps repeating
Yeah.
versus yoga. It's kind of like multiple
Right.
lines and I'm watching them, go
Right.
and you're
There's
present.
a lot of thoughts, and you are, I think, I mean, yeah, you have to be present for both of them. But I
Mhm.
feel as though, and it depends on the yoga teacher. So, with whatever teachings they are, whatever their experience is, and what they're saying in their philosophy.
Mhm.
So, and then how are you interpreting what they're saying on that spiritual level, and how does that apply to you in your life? Right. So,
Mhm.
you're able to listen in more to
Mhm.
your overall thoughts and beliefs, I believe, in yoga than maybe strength training.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes. It just depends. Maybe like the longer you go to strength training, the less
Less
grunty and
stressed
yeah,
you
the
feel
less
maybe?
yeah. The more because even in my journey, if I'm thinking about it, the more endurance and strength I get, the harder it becomes to get to that point. Does
Mhm.
that make sense? So
Yes.
now the more I go and the more all these people that go to the gym that you see go to the gym all the time, all the same people that I see, we're all trying to get that same high and
Mhm.
get those big muscles and
Yep.
get to that state, those novice gains, right? That
Mhm.
novice high,
Mhm.
right?
But it takes
Yeah.
longer.
But it takes longer. But then it
Mhm.
also feels even more incredible because now you're stronger and you've seen how much stronger you are. It's
Yep.
just a cool process.
That's
Yeah.
really cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's a good balance to have both, at least with stretching. Maybe you
Yeah.
don't do yoga, but it all comes back to balance
It
and
absolutely does.
yep,
Mhm.
that's so important. My final question for you is in your work with clients, obviously your main focus is fitness, but
Mhm.
how do you see this confidence seep into other areas of their lives?
Um, so fitness, wellness, yeah, those are my areas of so and I like to say part of those pillars, yes, those two things. Confident, we look at confidence builder and we look at stick to it method. Those are really just fancy ways of saying habit change, behavior change, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And because we all want to know how to stick to the habit, stick to all of that stuff. So how those things leak out into our lives is really like, okay, let's say for instance, you were changing jobs and you're afraid to change your job, right? And so you now are feeling more confident in your own abilities
Mm.
in general as a whole. So now you can take steps to change your career and feel confident in those choices. Does that
Mhm.
make sense? You
Mhm.
have a boyfriend, a partner, a husband, whatever. So, like, if you are unhappy, you can now you're now feeling so much more confident in using your voice to say, hey, this isn't working, or I think we need to work on a relationship, and you have more confidence and you feel so much more self-worth because you're so much more capable in your abilities to do hard things and just be resourceful, adaptable, right? And be fully present. And just how it leaks out is that, you want to feel happy. And when you are not happy, or you're around, let's say you're around your supporters of friends, and you start to notice some of the toxic things in your life that you no longer want anymore. And you can live a little more free and have clear boundaries. Like, say you don't want to lose that friend, that's fine. So now you just take a step back. Maybe you're not in their world more, or they ask you they ask you to go out to dinner more, and then you're like, okay, no, not today. And you feel confident saying no and not having to answer why, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you have that hard conversation. Hey, like, sometimes when I'm around you, I don't feel my best self because, this is what happens, and whatever, we need to work on our relationship, whatever. So it just leaks out into so many areas. And then, of course, like, especially if you're changing your careers, you do your career, and now, poof, you're making more money, right? You value yourself. You get the job that you always wanted, and you go after things that you thought weren't possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the same
Mm-hmm.
thing if you're not with your spouse or whatever, your partner, and you go off and you venture off, or you want to travel, but you always like, no, I don't want to travel by myself, and now you fucking go travel by yourself. You can
Yes.
stand up for yourself. You just have so much more confidence. You don't second guess yourself. You don't ruminate over decisions in your life so much to
Mm-hmm.
the fact that it's debilitating anymore,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what happens.
Yep.
And we start to just these little things. We want to go to you want to wear a bikini, right? You wear the bikini, right? You go on the dance, you want to dance, and you're always just somebody who's at some wedding, and you're just dancing your seat, not fucking on the floor, and you're dancing because you don't
Mm-hmm.
care anymore,
Yep.
right? And you less ruminate, and you go for more of the things that light your soul up, and that's so important in life. And so it's just a mixture of all those things, and it's amazing.
Oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
love that. I feel so inspired by that, and it's a similar process, changing a job, leaving a relationship, traveling by yourself. It's stressful. You face it, you push through. Well, you sit with those feelings, then you push through, then sit with the pride for yourself, and you just
Mm.
repeat, rinse and
Yeah.
repeat with all of these
Mhm.
different situations. So
Yep.
I love that.
Just doing this, like, I'm sure your first podcast, it's like an out of body experience. It's like, whoo,
Mm-hmm.
and is the person judging me? Can I do this? Like, is this right? Did I do this right? Oh my God. Right. And, you have that level. And then, like, you probably found, the more I do it, the easier it becomes to just look at this fear and be here and do it anyway.
Yep.
Right. And you
Yep.
start to become a little more detached from those limiting beliefs, those repeated habits and thoughts, and I'm not good enough, or I'm afraid, or what if people are judging me? That's the biggest thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
People are judging me. And no, you're judging yourself more than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's a big part of that, is like, the more that we do it, the more we have proof that we can do it. And the more we can detach from those emotions that make us feel dysregulated.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally. Great, great stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your perspective on this. And you
Mm.
shared so much amazing tidbits and things today. So for
Thank you for
listeners,
having me.
of course. So for listeners that are resonating, want to work with you, want to find you, where is the best place for them to connect?
They can connect through Instagram or through Facebook. My Instagram handle is Jaclyn A. Raspallo. They can, same thing on Facebook, it's Jaclyn Raspallo, or you can visit Jaclyn Raspallo, BMF.com. And that's my website. BMF is Body, Mind, Fit, where we mesh body, mind, and into fitness. Yeah. And yeah, best way to reach me. Mhm.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Megan. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you so much for listening today. And I hope you can see how your mindset and your ability to work through strong emotions can really impact your life, not just in the gym and fitness, but also in so many other areas of your life. I felt so empowered after this conversation, and I hope that listening to this leaves you feeling empowered as well. So, if you're afraid to go to the gym, maybe just try going and walking on the treadmill and observing and just taking stock of how you're feeling, what you're thinking, and identify those limiting beliefs for yourself. And that's it. All of the links for this episode will be below, and I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you soon. Much love.